Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Friday. So this is the time of year where it may feel like fall. You may get a week or 2 weeks of highs in the 70s, lows hitting the 50s. And it seems like we're in the fall, kind of like the post-spawn where it seems like you're in the summer. It's hot. You want to catch them on top water. But there's just this significantly better subsurface lure bait, and you can't rush into your favorite topwaters. And I think that happens this time of year too, because I fish a lot of tournaments in September and I fish a lot in October. And October is always great for topwater. November is also really good for topwater. But September, it's always been subsurface baits and some type of bait I can fish on the bottom, typically like a flipping jig or a Texas rig. But I never do great on the topwater. Now, if I can catch them on topwater any time of the year, I prefer that. I think your average is significantly better on topwater, and you probably have the best chance of fooling a big bass if that's how they're set up on topwater than any other bait, especially this time of year as the fishing pressure accumulates. But it just seems like the subsurface bait thing is better. And I think that has a lot to do with the fake fall. The fish are going to start pushing back, and they want to push bait on the backside of river bars. They want to get them in short pockets. They want to get them into those bottlenecks, maybe way up a river or way back in a creek where it starts to narrow down. Great place for them to push bait. They want to push them against something. You know, it could be a line of docks, but they want to have them up against something where they're just not going anywhere. And those are the best places to find bass too, because you don't have to worry about them swimming all over the place. They're typically in a small area, which a lot of fishermen find those places, so you typically don't have those to yourself. But it just seems like that's what they want to do right now. And then once you get that warm weather, you know, maybe a week or two of more warm weather, it kind of pulls them back out. They kind of get a reality check that, okay, we're not there yet. Let's get back out on that structure. Let's start relating to the bottom. And it just seems like the chatterbait, the lipless crankbait, you're deflecting that bait off the bottom or the grass or whatever cover you have in your lake. And that's what the fish are still relating to. And that's going to be in the creeks. That's not just going to be out on the main river where you've been catching them all summer. That's going to be in the creeks. That's going to be where the bait is at. But it just doesn't seem like they've all lost their mind and went to the bait. Now, some fish do that. I think that's probably in any bass's nature anywhere, is if bait is way back, they're going to go way back after it. But not all the fish are going to do that, especially when you still have fairly warm water here on Guntersville. The water is going to be in the low 80s for a little bit. Bass are still going to be relating to the drains and the points and wherever it falls off into deep water, and they still want to be on those spots because there's bait there too. So this is a tricky one, but it just seems like if you can find some bushes, you can find some of that likable cover that you fished earlier in the year, bass are still going to be on it for at least another couple weeks. And then once we get into the end of September, it seems like we're in the real fall then. The days are significantly shorter, and they're going to push that bait as far back into the cover as they can. And then you have situations like Guntersville where the grass starts dying, so there's no longer that defined edge. Everything's going back in there. You don't have an option but to throw a frog or a fluke or something weedless way back into it. And I think that's the same thing with all the other lakes. You're going to have a change, a significant change, and the bait is going to be vulnerable at that point, and bass is just going to continue to push it back further and further. And that's when you got to go get super shallow, and you have to throw something that you can skip under bushes and skip under laydowns and skip under overhanging trees. You don't really have another option but to fish dirt shallow and in those little bottleneck areas. But right now, take advantage of this time where they're still going to relate to the bottom composition. They're still going to relate to the structure, and you can fish something a little bit faster. You don't necessarily have to push your boat way back in there. You can make 10 or 15 casts on a spot, roll to the next one, and then change up how you catch them. If you have wind one day, that's where I really like that chatterbait, that lipless crankbait. If you have sun the next day, you don't have a whole lot of wind, that's where your jig is going to come in. Swimming a jig or a hybrid hunter or a swank or something is going to be a real player. The fluke on those days as well. All key baits. And then start mixing in topwater, because we are going to find a period of time there in the next few weeks where topwater is the deal, but I don't think we're there yet. Try that. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.